Hello, English learners. If you are learning English and you want to improve your pronunciation, maybe even have an almost native American accent or an American accent, I'm an American accent coach and I help English learners get there. So every once in a while, I do a live, and that's today. So today, what's happening? For this live, I will be doing an accent review and getting advice from an English learner with an almost perfect accent. So, you guys might already know this. Oops, it looks like I'm not able to go live on Facebook. 1 second, please. I might have to cut this out. Live video. Uh, all right, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Um, okay. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of difficulty with Facebook. So I'm just gonna put my streaming key in. I guess I need that. If not in a minute, I'm just gonna go ahead. I don't know why this is not working. Do 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 do. I'm gonna delete on Facebook. Oh, I know exactly why. Whatever, the show must go on. So, welcome everyone. If you are an English learner and you want to improve your English pronunciation and maybe even have more of an American accent, either near native or just have an American accent, this is what I do. I'm an American accent coach and I help English learners improve their pronunciation. So if you're here, feel free to ask any questions. Tell us where you're tuning in from. And today's live, we will be doing an accent review of an English learner that speaks an Indian language as their first language. And they're also going to be giving some advice on how they got a near native accent, an almost perfect accent. I got a lot of questions from English learners. How do I improve my accent? How do I improve my pronunciation? I give tips, but I think it's really powerful to get tips from somebody who already achieved the goal that you want. So we'll be doing that today. Then I'll mention I in September, in September, I will be starting my lessons again. I'll be giving conversation practice one-on-ones for students who would like that. I always have a conversation and then feedback at the end. So you'll have feedback so you will know how to improve your English. Then I also will have accent training one-on-ones available and other fun things. I'm also considering starting a weekly pronunciation group or groups, depending on the demand, depending if you want that or not. So if you are interested and you're watching the replay, comment weekly groups if you're interested, and I will give you the link for the waitlist. If you're live, I will do that a little bit later. And if you're watching the replay and you would like to possibly be a part of my upcoming course, which I'll show you it right now. My upcoming course, which is the Secrets to Sounding More American course, and you would like to join the wait list to master the rhythm, stress, and flow of English, comment secrets down below if you're watching the replay, and I will share with you how to get on that wait list. And I think that's pretty much it for now, but feel free to say hello and tell us where you are tuning in from. But as I mentioned, I'm going to start with getting tips from an English learner, and they share how they got an American accent or almost American accent. So I'm just going to create a little banner here. How this Indian speaker achieved an almost native accent. So how this Indian speaker achieved Mm-mm-mm. Achieved on before eggs. Always the I always question myself if it's the I or the E. Just 1 second. This is a chaotic live today. Okay, there we go. Enter. We have a banner here. So here we go. Many English learners ask me, how do I improve my pronunciation? How do I get an American accent? I give a lot of tips on how to do that. However, what is really powerful is getting advice from somebody who has already achieved what you wanted. So, this first part of this live, I'm going to be listening to this guy's advice. He's an Indian speaker who has an almost native accent. So I'm just going to play it here, pause it, and give my reaction. Do I agree? Do I not? What do I want to add? So let's go.
Hey Jesse, how you doing? Ari here, and I'll try to answer certain questions he had for me on Instagram, and I'll try my best to answer it. And so yeah, let's get started. I'm kind of a little bit nervous because I have to raw dog this entire voice note, but anyway, let's get started. The first question was, how did I get to this level with my accent? And basically, the story starts when I was 14 years old, about to be 15. And at that time, the way that I was reading and writing in English were kind of decent, but when it came to talking in English, I was really bad, like really, really bad. And I wanted to get better, and so I thought that what do I do to get better? And then I basically thought that, you know what, we're gonna sit down in my computer. I'm gonna press the record button, and we're just gonna record this. We're gonna start this, episode series where every day I come in my computer, record a new episode for like 12 minutes, and I talk about anything I want to talk about, and that's supposed to improve the way that I talk in English. And it did improve me. Like for months I was doing that, and I had gotten really good from the point I started. But
Okay, I'm just going to stop it here. That is such a good idea. And actually, I think that's what I'm going to do in my French. I think there's something very powerful about recording yourself speaking your target language. So if it's English and doing it every day, this will help you, one, practice, and then two, see the progress. And then it also helps you to listen back so you can hear the different mistakes. So I'm going to continue playing and see what else he has to share.
then basically after like some time I was like, well, I sound a little bit weird because a part of me, well, a major part of me sounds Indian, and I still had like an Indian accent, but then this other part of me really didn't sound Indian. And it was, to me at that time, I really couldn't identify whether it was American, British, or blah 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 anything, but it was certainly not Indian. And then I was like, how did I get it? But now looking,
I'm sorry, I just realized I was playing it on 1.5 speed.
got it, back at it. I think I used to consume a lot of Western content, ever since I was a child. And I think my brain kind of internalized a lot of those sounds and started to subconsciously incorporate it. And then I was basically in between both of these things, and I really didn't like the way that I communicated.
Okay, so I love that he mentioned this. So I mentioned it just before he said it. I forgot what he had said as I was commenting. When you record yourself and you listen back, you'll start to be able to hear, I hear influence from my native language. And then I also hear things that I'm doing well. So that helps give you that feedback. But you will get to a point, like he had mentioned here. I don't know if I sound British or American or Indian. There are some you'll get to a point where you're like, I don't know what I need to correct. Okay. So I love that he shared that he got to that point because that is something that I tell a lot of my followers. This will happen to you. And this is where I am in French. There's some things that I'm like, I just want to know, why do I not sound native? That's when you need a native speaker, like an accent coach, to help you with that.
And then I thought that, you know what, I'm going to pick the American accent and I'm going to start learning it. And I'm trying to kind of make things proper. And this is how I started. And I obviously, did this. Now let's move on to the main question, which is how I actually did it. And that was by basically at the start, I was mimicking a lot of native speakers. I was trying to, mimic their rhythm, their intonation, the way they communicated, the pronunciations, and everything. And this is how I started. I was doing it, and when I stumbled across certain sounds that I just couldn't top, for example, like what do you call this? The glottality in the words like button, certain, and stuff like that. With this sound, it was so problematic for me that I just couldn't like hear it and I couldn't replicate it. It was impossible.
Okay, I love that he talked about this. You will find this too as you have like your accent and then the accent you want. There's going to be differences. If there are new sounds, it's very possible that you will not be able to hear the sound or the differences. For example, between bus and boss, a lot of Spanish speakers cannot hear the difference. Did you take the bus or did you talk to your boss? Okay? The boss is like your, the person who is like your patron in Spanish. And then bus is like the vehicle that you ride in. Um, so I really like that he mentioned that. So when you target a sound, you have to learn how to be able to hear it before you start to be able to pronounce it. So I love that he mentioned this.
And then I went on to YouTube and I typed it out, and then I found out a proper video of how do you say it, and then I tried it, and then definitely was able to do it after some practice. And this has basically been my routine, shadowing and then seeing if there are certain sounds I can do. And if there aren't, then I go onto YouTube, I type it out, and then I incorporate it, get better at it, and just improve the way that I talk.
Okay, that I really liked. Um, and I'm going to mention shadowing. I didn't really explain what shadowing is. I have playlists where you could shadow me, but it's basically when you listen to a native speaker. And when you're listening to a native speaker, you will repeat just like they said it, almost like a parrot, like the bird does, where you'll listen, you repeat. And I mentioned this in my last live, so I'll actually put this up right now. When you're shadowing, it's really helpful and efficient to have a specific goal when you're shadowing. So you can have a specific sound, a specific pattern, or phenomenon that you are listening for. So, for example, with Arush, maybe he had a time where he really struggled with the glottal stop. Um, where instead of saying button, he said button, button, right? So he would listen for I'd imagine he'd be listening for words and sentences with the glottal stop. And yeah, repeating after the native speaker, but also listening and paying special attention to that sound. So something to notice. And I like how he says he does it repetitively. That's important. It needs to become a habit and like you need to be able to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it becomes muscle memory. Of course, getting feedback to make sure that you are pronouncing it correctly, because if not, you are creating bad pronunciation habits. But let's listen to what else he says.
Now, let's move on to the other question, which is did I do it alone? Yes, I mostly did it alone for the most part. And the other question, which is what tips and techniques did you use? I think I've talked about it, but basically, it's just a lot of repetition. And I also, by the way, I just consume a lot of English content. And it's that I'm passively listening for things and I'm always trying to get better. I swear to God, there hasn't been a single day where obviously there are days that I was not able to practice, but there wasn't a single day that I was not passively, trying to improve the way that I talk. So
Wow, that's dedication. So when people say, "Oh, well, I don't live in an English-speaking country," that's not an excuse. This guy does not live in United States or Canada, and we have the internet, right? The internet is so helpful. Um, That is amazing. That is actually really amazing. And what I mentioned in my last video when I talked about 5 or 6 ways to maximize your accent training, your American accent training, I did mention make sure you are constantly getting input from like input in English with the accent that you want. So if it means listening to YouTube with American speakers or, listening to music or the radio in English with the accent that you want. With the accent, this is very important. With the accent that you want, your brain will start to be able to hear and identify and recognize those sounds so that you'll be able to incorporate it into your speech with practice. So I love that he mentions that He listens to it. He gets that constant input of American English.
It's just you just do a lot of repetition and you just get better. And the other question, for me at least, this is what worked. The other question was, what advice would you give to someone wanting an American accent? And I think the advice is to just be consistent and just realize that it's just certain habits that you have to learn and certain habits that you have to unlearn. And if you do both of these things, you're gonna sound American or whatever way you want to sound. It's just a game about incorporating and just deleting certain habits, and it's just about that. What challenges did you have as an Indian speaker? So I really can't think about. I do have a lot of challenges, but this thing is going to be too long. So I'm going to give some things that just come on top of my head, which is the biggest challenge I kind of had to go through was that in the space not a lot of people talk about that if you're learning a new accent from scratch, you're going to feel a lot unnatural and a lot weird and a lot not like yourself, in other words fake. And I really felt that in the beginning. I really didn't have like
And we don't really say uh, a lot weird. We say very weird, very unnatural. Just a little side tip. Because I noticed that there are still some, because I know he wanted feedback. Um, I know that there's some little word choices that you make that I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound natural. So I should have brought it up earlier. For example, like deleting habits, like getting rid of habits, getting rid of bad habits instead of deleting. Deleting is more like if you are on a computer and you're deleting files, just so that you know. Yeah, I don't know if you can even say that for real life. Usually, I'm thinking technology. We delete an application on your phone. We delete photos, right? Yeah.
some sort of an anchor point, which was like I knew that this is supposed to be the way, this is how you're supposed to feel it. And so that was really at that time really de-
Okay, I know you talked about the anchor point. I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but I'm going to share this as a tip. Sometimes it's good to have what I call and what my teacher calls an anchor phrase. So sometimes when you want to get into that American mood, that American accent, if you have a go-to phrase that you've mastered, it can help you refeel the sounds, refeel what it feels like to speak American. So if your phrase is like, "Hey, how's it going?" Right? Then that could be your phrase, right? Um, having a phrase that whenever you're like, "Oh, I just want to be able to feel what it's like to have an American accent so that I can continue speaking it." Find yourself a an anchor phrase, a go-to phrase. And if you have one, comment it. I want to know what your anchor phrase is. I don't think that's what he's referring to, but that's what I thought about. Or your like go-to phrase.
motivating, and I really hated that. But eventually I got into realize that it's just habits and patterns. And when you try to learn new habits and patterns, it feels a little unnatural, but if you do it for a long time horizon, it starts to become natural. And this is how you get better and stuff. And yep, I believe I've answered all of the questions to the best of my abilities. And signing out, just yeah, thank you.
All right. So thank you, Arush. I love that you shared this. I'm going to add some extra things as I'm thinking about it. Um, okay, I'm just going to see if there's anything else that he wants to add. Okay. I asked a question about saying, I'd love to know. I talked about what challenges did you have as an Indian speaker, and I think he answered it as well in text. Oh, he said, I was running out of time, so I couldn't really answer it properly. But if I had to sum up one key thing I've noticed through both practice and observation is this. In the Indian accent, consonants often aren't enunciated with much force or clarity. Oh, okay. I like that. I like that. The best way I could put it is you kind of have to spit out the consonants with more energy. That shift made a big difference for me. So if you're an Indian speaker and that was helpful, let us know. As for the vowels in general, I found that just opening the mouth is more I found that just opening the mouth more helps a lot. Basically, for both consonants and vowels, using more energy overall seemed to work for me. These worked well for me in the beginning, but as I improved, I started noticing more exceptions. There are always exceptions, though the general patterns still helped a ton. Yeah. And then he said one more thing in this voice note. I was kind of in a rush and a lot of words aren't enunciated properly from what I heard. That's okay. Um, no, I really like this. And this is something very common for English learners as well is they'll say the vowels quickly where they'll say, "Oh, there's a dog." But you can say dog. Like, don't be afraid to really say the vowel sounds. Pronounce the vowel sounds. It feels weird, but just to be able to feel it. And then if you don't want to like exaggerate it, you don't have to, but just it's really important to exaggerate it, I think, in the beginning, just to get a feel for what the vowel sounds and all of the sounds feel like and to get comfortable with it. So I like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to his voice note again, but I'm going to give feedback on how you can improve. So I'm going to check to see if there's any questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll give 30 seconds for you guys to ask questions. If not, I'm going to go on to the next part. So feel free to ask questions. Mhm. So I have 10 more seconds or so to see if there's anything that pops up. Good. All right, so I'm going to stop the question and answer period. If you ask a question, I'll answer it at the end of this little, I guess, episode because I'm recording in chunks of time. All right. Gonna get rid of that. And just get myself ready, mentally ready. And
Judge My Accent, a place on Reddit where English learners can get their accent judged.
Wow. So who's my next victim?
I'm just kidding. I'm here to help you and judge your accent so that you can improve your accent and speak more like a native English speaker with an American accent. Let's go.
all right, so in this episode, it's going to be recorded live, so it's not going to be fully edited like the intro, but I'm going to be reviewing a voice message from an English learner. He is a speaker, or he speaks an Indian language, and he has an almost native accent. And he asked me, Jessie, can you listen to a voice note and tell me what doesn't sound American so that I can, work on what isn't correct yet? Well, correct in the sense of not yet American sounding. So I'm going to be listening to maybe a minute or two of this, give some feedback. And it's about 6 minutes, so I won't listen to the full thing. But I have listened to this and I gave some feedback in my other video where I shared his advice on how to achieve a perfect accent. So if you want to watch that, check down the description to learn how to have an almost native accent, get his advice. If you're watching the replay, it'll be down below, but let's get into this.
Hey, Jesse, how you doing? Ari here, and I'll try to answer certain questions he had for me on Instagram, and I'll try my best to answer it. And
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. I never noticed this the first time because I have done an accent review for this guy. Um, it almost sounds kind of twangy. Like, I don't know which American accent or who you're listening to, but there's something that kind of sounds a little bit Southern. It's not bad. My accent is kind of like my try. Not bad. It's not bad, but just know that I do kind of hear a twangy. I think it's kind of Southern. It's not bad, but just know that that's what I think I'm hearing. Again, quick disclaimer, when I work with people, with clients, I'm constantly assessing their accent. So this isn't fully reflective of what it's like to work with me because I'm just listening to this like once or twice.
so, yeah, let's get started. I'm kind of a little bit nervous because I have to raw dog this entire voice note. But anyway, let's get started.
Okay, remember when I said that you kind of say O instead of O? Voice note, I'm hearing it. So just so you know, it's still a sound that exists in your day-to-day speech, I think.
The first question was, how did I get to this level with my accent? And basically, the story starts when I was 14 years old, about to be 15. And at that time, the way that I was reading and writing in English were kind of decent. But when it came to talking in English, I was
When it came to, I'm hearing the two. Okay, so it's to or to, depending on if you're reducing it or not.
really bad, like really, really bad. And I wanted to get better. And so I thought that, what do I do to get better? And then I basically thought that, you know what, we're going to sit down in my computer. I'm going to press the record button and we're just going to record this. We're going to start this, episode series where
We're gonna start, I'm hearing the ooh. I can't fully mimic you, but we're gonna start the podcast. Oh,
every day I come in my computer, I record a new episode for like 12 minutes. And I
did I hear episode or sewed? I'm not sure what I heard, but you can watch the replay and listen for it.
talk about anything I want to talk about, and that's supposed to improve the way that I talk in English. And it did improve me. Like for months, I was doing that, and I had gotten really good from the point I started. But then basically after like some time, I was like, well, I sound a little bit weird because a major part of me sounds Indian, and I still had like an Indian accent. But then this other part of me really didn't sound Indian. And it was, to me, at that time, I really couldn't identify whether it was American, British, or blah, 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 anything. But it was certainly not Indian. And then I was like, how did I get it? But now looking back at it, I think I used to consume a lot of Western content,
I used to consume. I think I'm kind of hearing that British like sound that I'm talking about. So I think I'm just gonna play it up to there. That's about 2 minutes, I think. So I would say if you want to improve your accent, um, let's keep working on the O, the O sound. Improve, ooh, and then no, go, right? So it's not British sounding. It's the same as what I said in my last video. So if you guys are watching the replay, I'll put the link to that one video below because I I share that more in depth, but I'm just giving some quick feedback on this live. And then, like I mentioned, there are some mistakes that I hear. I hear you make that's the kind of English mistakes that are unnatural for a native speaker. So, for example, you mentioned delete habits. I didn't play it in this clip, but uh, instead of saying delete habits, we say get rid of habits. When we say delete, we're talking about like deleting things off of like a computer or a phone, deleting an application, deleting a photo. But if we're talking about in the real world, like we could say get rid of a photo, get rid of this habit, you know, or undo the habit. I would say get rid of the bad habit. And then there's some other things that you said that didn't quite sound natural, but I mentioned it in my other video that I just recorded on this live, so I will send that to you as well. But no, it's pretty good. I do hear kind of like a little bit of a twang, my instead of my. I'll listen to it a little bit more to see if I can hear it.
since I was a child. And I think my brain kind of internalized a lot of those sounds and started to subconsciously incorporate it. And then I was basically in between both of these things, and I really didn't like the way that I communicated. And then I thought that, you know what, I'm going to pick the American accent and I'm going to start learning it. And I'm trying to kind of make things proper. And this is how I started. And I obviously, did this.
You know, speak, oh,
Now let's move on to the main question, which is how
move on to. I kind of hear that. Move on to. Move on to. Move on to.
I actually did it. And that was by basically at the start, I was
See, I'm hearing that too. By instead of by. Again, the one that I just corrected, the ba, it's not bad. It just sounds more twangy, which is kind of the pronunciation that you'll hear in the South. Again, you could decide if you want to keep that in your accent. That's okay. It is American. It's just not the accent that I typically expect when it's more general. All right, I'm going to check out the comments here. Again, if you're watching this as a clip, there should be a video popping up here, so feel free to click it. And I'm going to move on to the questions. All right. I can understand English so well, but I cannot speak. How can I improve? Good question. I get this question a lot. If you want to improve your conversational skills, practice. Have a conversational partner that you can text in English, that you can send voice notes in English, that you can go on Zoom or in real life and converse with in English. That's something that's really going to help you improve your conversational English. Ideally, it's good to be with somebody who can give you feedback if you make mistakes. If you're talking about speaking in terms of pronunciation, a good idea is just to practice. Repeat after English speakers. Listen to the accent that you want. So if you want an American accent, listen to the radio, listen to podcasts in English with speakers that have an American accent. Another thing I'll mention, I'm going to just look for it right here. I have a lot, and I mean a lot of playlists on my YouTube channel. I think it's right here. I have a playlist on common English mistakes. So if you make English mistakes and you don't really want to make English mistakes, watch that one. I usually say a sentence, let you guess. You have 3 seconds to decide where the mistake is, and then you can see if you're right or not. If you're incorrect, you probably make that mistake in your spoken English. I also have playlists on pronunciation, as you can see right here. I have playlists on connected speech right here where you can repeat after me. So practice, 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 practice. I also have conversational sessions that I'm going to be offering in September for those who want to have paid help, one-on-one paid help with feedback. So I'm hoping that helps. But yeah, it's just it's all about practice. All right, Luis Pedro da Silva. Is that Portuguese or Spanish? Well, which one would be your first language? It's a good afternoon. Da Silva. That looks like it might be Portuguese. But Pedro makes me think Spanish. I'm curious to hear. So I'm going to read the comments a little bit later because I'm going to do a quick review of another accent. But I'm just going to take a quick break, like a really quick break. 1 second, please. All right, so welcome back. Right now I'm going to be doing I guess, Judge My Accent series. So I'm going to just quickly put a banner up here because that's what's going to be about. So accent review. We're going to be listening to a Spanish speaker after 12 years in Canada. I'm actually going to change that to after living 5 years. After living 5 years. After living 12 years in Canada. Let's put that up there. And I'm going to do a quick intro video. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments and I will respond to them after I quickly do a review. I think it's going to be quick at least. Okay. All right. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Okay. Let's go.
Judge My Accent, a place on Reddit where English learners can get their accent judged.
Wow. So who's my next victim?
I'm just kidding. I'm here to help you and judge your accent so that you can improve your accent and speak more like a native English speaker with an American accent. Let's go.
All right. So in this episode of Judge My Accent, I'm actually going to be reviewing an accent live. It's not from Reddit. It's actually from a follower of mine on Instagram that asked for a quick little accent review. This person has been living in Canada for 12 years now, and he is a Spanish speaker. So we're going to be listening to his accent, and I'll be giving some advice. So let's take a listen. Make sure my volume's up. There we go.
Hi guys, how you doing today? Douglas here, and I come to practice my spoken English. So if you are learning English as well, I invite you to tag along and practice your listening skills. So today I want to talk briefly about the importance of improving our vocabulary in function of communication. So if you're looking for better fluency and better communicative skills in English, I highly recommend you to go for these three aspects. Number one, phrases. Number two, expressions. And number three, collocations. These three areas will help you speak better English and approach better communicative skills. So you may say, well, Douglas, but what about words in isolation? Because all vocabulary is important and necessary. I agree, 100% agree. But here's my tricky advice for you. Every time you approach a new word, every time you come across new vocabulary, not only look for the meaning itself, but also phrases around that word. Let me set an example. Let's look at the word table. Not only look for the meaning, but also phrases around the word table. For example, on the table or under the table. Thank you, Douglas, for bringing this topic on the table. As you can see, I can approach English communication in a better way when I have more resources at hand. So guys, this is what I got for you today. And if you've made it to this point, I just want to say thank you very much for tagging along. Feel free to post your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Thank you guys for tagging along. Thank you for catching up with my content. And have a good one. See you next time. Cheers.
All right. So thank you for sharing this video with me. And I'll be giving you just some quick feedback. Quick disclaimer, as always, when I do these Judge My Accent series, this is not necessarily a reflection of what it's like to work with me and what it's like for me to identify your accent, because I'm only listening to this a few times. Whereas when I actually have you as a client, I am constantly evaluating your accent. I'm constantly like listening for patterns, and I get to know your speech as we work together longer. So if there's things that I'm not quite perfect on, that's why. All right. So I'm going to share my screen because I have some resources that I'd like to share with you. So let's do that right here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share this window here. All right. So I made a little Word document for you. So after I do this, I will actually send this to you. This is a very, very, very helpful prompt. Hope you guys can see it's a prompt that if you need help, with your connected speech, stress, intonation, and English is not your first language, and you would like an American accent, ask ChatGPT this. Really helpful. So I asked ChatGPT, can you compare and contrast the connected speech, stress, and intonation rules between American English and Spanish? Because when we are learning a language, we take habits, whether it be pronunciation habits, ways of, speaking from our native language, and that will influence our accent. So I said, please include word stress, sentence stress, and any unnatural habits that might carry through to English as a Spanish speaker. And then I didn't know if country had anything to do with this in regards to Spanish. So here are, I'm going to provide this link on my Patreon for paid members and free members. And I'll also send this to our friend Douglas. So there's things that as Spanish speakers they may not do, such as linking. So in English, we don't say go on. We tend to have like a little W that appears here. I'm going to see if I can actually get my I'm going to see if I can get my little yes. Oh, there's something not working here. Let's go back up. For some reason, it went all the way down. So in English, instead of saying go on, like two separate words, there will be like a little W that shows up between here. So go on. Spanish speakers will rarely do that. I want to also change the size of my little thing. There we go. Going to erase that. So go on with the W in between, a light W. So I'll write it again just because I don't think it did what I wanted to do. I don't know why it's disappearing. Anyways, go on. There's a little thing there. I'm not used to this function. Okay, next. There's different things like elisions as well. So elisions, intrusions, there's different kind of reductions. I heard that he does reductions. So this is just for you in general as a resource. Word stress, right? Some of the differences. I'm not going to go through it here because my pointer is not working as well. Sentence stress, intonation, things that happen. As well as different regional dialects depending on which Spanish you speak. And now we're going to get to the good stuff. So I actually provided the text. I got Word to transcribe it. So if it's not completely transcribed perfectly, please don't judge. It's the Word document that did this. All right. So first things, Douglas, I have some feedback for you. The verdict, the feedback after listening to your accent. Of course, like I mentioned, it would take time to thoroughly review your accent, but here's the main takeaways, things that you might want to look at. The first thing I'm going to talk about are you have some English mistakes that you make. Of course, English speakers make English mistakes, but there are English mistakes that are natural, that are natural sounding because native speakers make it. And there are some English mistakes that do not sound natural. And this is just a question of practicing, getting feedback and correction. So if you have native speakers in your life and you ask them to correct you, they can do that. I also give one-on-one conversation sessions where I give feedback. And as I give feedback, my clients make less and less or fewer mistakes. So some of the mistakes that are in your text, I got ChatGPT to do it because I did not have a lot of time. There's a mistake here. So you said, and I'm here to practice my spoken English. That's the correction. You said, I come here. This is a mistake that a lot of English speakers make. It sounds really unnatural, and people say, I come from, let's say, Chile. I come from Chile. It's I'm from Chile. I think it's just because it's directly translated. Next, here are the mistakes. So I don't think I'm going to go through them all, but just know that there are some mistakes that you make because you said, whenever I talk to people, they know that English is not my first language. Mistakes can definitely signal that English is not your first language. Okay, and this is not actually a mistake you made, it's just a Word document. So approach better skills. We'd say develop better skills, right? And that was a mistake from the Word document. So ignore section 6 and ignore section 4. That's just a computer mistake. All right. Again, some of them are transcription mistakes. Now, here's a quick summary of common issues. Incorrect preposition. So we say the idiom is actually to the table rather than on the table. To bring something to the table. Next, in function of communication, we'd say for communication. And then also note, no, I won't mention that here. Grammar structure, recommend you to, we'd say recommend doing. Ignore this. This is not your fault. This is just the transcription's fault. And approach better skills, we'd say develop better skills. I also got a side-by-side comparison so you can compare it later, what was said, what should have been said. And yeah. All right. So next part. What's really fun is it will share with you the common mistakes that Spanish speakers make versus American English. So if you want to look over that, you can. But I'm actually going to listen to your word, sorry, your voice message. Sorry, I cannot speak. I think it's the heat wave. I cannot think. We're going to listen to it again, and I'm going to point out some other mistakes that I've heard. I won't listen to everything just because it is pretty long, but let's do it. So I'm going to get it again. I'm going to pause it as we go through it.
Guys, how are you doing today?
Okay. First thing you said, hey guys, I wasn't sure if you were saying how are you doing today or how you doing. I'm going to go to this again. I'm just going to share this. So if you are saying how are you doing, I'll let you repeat after me. So how are you doing today? I'm going to actually put this. How are you doing today? So that's where the stress is. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? Feel free to repeat after me. If you said how, because I don't know if you were pronouncing that or not. If you're pronouncing how you doing today, how are you doing today? Sorry, how are you doing today? Today. It's almost like the Y, kind of like the U, because yeah. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? So, how you there we go. How are you doing today? Hey, how are you doing today? This is more casual. Or, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? I just couldn't really hear what it was. And something I will mention too, if you are going to pronounce how are you doing today, don't forget that there's a W. So I'm going to try to do this writing thing again. I don't know why it's disappearing. Let me get my Okay, I'm gonna try and do it quick. So the W and the A should be together. So it's how are you doing today? How are you doing today? Because the W, the consonant sound, will go into where the vowel starts. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? Or it's like how are you doing today? How are you doing today? Or how are you doing today? How are you doing today? Or how you doing today? How you doing today? So I hope you kind of hear the difference. It's almost like how you do, how you doing? How you doing? Or how were, how are you doing today? How were you doing today? How are you doing today? How are you doing today? Or if you're keeping the R, it's going to be war. How war. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? You can hear I kind of exaggerated some of the sounds when I was trying to let you hear the hear the vowels. Sorry if you can hear the background noise. Okay, let's listen to the rest, and yeah, I'll give you some feedback as we go, as well as a little summary at the end.
Here I come to practice my spoken English. So if you are learning English as well, I invite you to tag along and practice your listening skills. So today I want to talk briefly about the importance of improving our vocabulary in function of communication.
Okay. I thought I heard tuck, but maybe not. Like I mentioned, if you're my client, I constantly assess your accent, so be more sure about what I hear.
So if you're looking for better fluency, better communicative skills in English, I highly recommend you to go for these three aspects. Number one, phrases. Number two, expressions. And number three, collocations. These three areas will help you speak better English and approach better communicative skills. So you may say, well, Douglas, but what about words in isolation? Because all vocabulary is important and necessary.
It sounded like the intonation might have been off. I would say necessary. I almost felt like the intonation was, or the intonation, the stress was in the wrong place. But I would say because all vocabulary is important and necessary, necessary. So I'm actually going to stop there, but I'm going to give a quick verdict, a quick review. So, like I mentioned, it would take more time to thoroughly review your accent and be sure about what I hear. But like I mentioned, there are some English mistakes that are obvious. Like we said, approach better skills. We'd say develop better skills. Right? It's in the ChatGPT chat as well. Then I've noticed that there are some sounds that you have mastered that you have, yeah, you pronounce perfectly. Like for example, you said there are three areas. You had your tongue between your teeth, three. But then there are times when I hear you say more of a D or a T sound. I think you said it here when you said look for the meaning. There's another time you said that. I don't know where, but I heard the THB mispronounced. So what this means is that you're fully capable of pronouncing that sound, but the habit is not fully formed yet. So what that looks like and how you'd correct it is that I would recommend daily repeating phrases, especially phrases that you mispronounce the TH over and over correctly with the TH to get rid of that bad habit. I say I'm put quotations bad habit if you want an American accent or Canadian accent, so that you no longer pronounce the T and D accidentally, because you're doing that, mispronouncing it, like not as an American accent, because there are habits from your native language that are making you subconsciously pronounce it as a T or a D. So you could fully form that habit by repetition every day. Say those phrases with the TH properly so that that habit, that good TH habit, you know, becomes more dominant and becomes fully formed. So work on that, like for TH example. Next, there's some things with the stress and intonation that's a little bit off. That's something that even when I work with students, this is like this takes a lot of sessions because there's a lot going on here. But I would say, if you want to improve your accent, choose one of these things, one or two of these things, and just work on it for the next, I don't know how many weeks, every day, and then come back and get your accent reviewed again to see what's the next thing you should work on to improve your accent. So, TH, work on those English mistakes, get feedback, whether you ask ChatGPT or you have a native speaker that can give you feedback on your mistakes. Or, like I mentioned, I will be starting up my conversation sessions again in September. So if that's something that interests you, let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, it's not super thorough because I'm just doing a quick free review. I'm going to be looking to see if I have any questions or comments. Let me stop that share. Let's do this. And I'm going to open up the Q&A section because I am done. I am done reviewing today. No, I like it. I like it. Let's see what kind of comments, what kind of questions we have here. I'm going to stop sharing here. All right. I love these questions. Love these questions. Okay. I want to speak like an American native English speaker. So you want the A. So you can do it. Practice. Like I mentioned, when people do not sound like a native speaker, there are usually two things going on. One, you're making English mistakes that are obvious, that English is not your first language. So for example, I want to speak like an American. Forgot the little preposition there. And the second thing is pronunciation, right? And everything that comes along with the accent, intonation, stress. So if you work on those two things, that will definitely help. And again, I'm going to put this down in the bottom. Nope, that's not what I wanted to say. Here, I have a lot of playlists on YouTube. Common English mistakes. Watch it if you want to improve your English in regards to mistakes you make. I have pronunciation playlists. I have connected speech playlists. So depending on what you want to focus on, watch the playlist. That's helpful. Next. Hi, ma'am. How are you? I'm good. How are you? And I know that good is not grammatically correct, but English speakers will say good. I'm good. I'm doing good. It should be well, but I say good because my goal and my approach is to help English learners speak more like native speakers, not like a grammar book, not like a dictionary. Okay. So if you have any questions, ask. This is the Q&A period, which is near the end of my live, but I will stay as long as I have questions. Next, I am Indian, ma'am, but I want to speak like an American speaker. I would like to speak like you, ma'am. Other things I'm really struggling to do is to make sentences. Tell me, ma'am, what I have to do. Woo! I'm glad I answered that. Watch. You have a lot of options, but one option is to watch my YouTube videos. If you go to my YouTube page, click playlists. There are playlists like this one here, common English mistakes. You can see it going. Woo. That one you want to watch if you want to make fewer English mistakes and speak better. Then if you want to improve your pronunciation again, you can see there's different playlists here. Pronunciation playlists would be really helpful. Your second option is to, converse, ideally with a native speaker. And that could be if you want to have paid conversation lessons with feedback, conversation sessions. I do offer that. Well, I don't now, but I will in September 2025. So I know people might be watching this years later. So September 2025, I'm starting my conversation sessions again. All right. I couldn't think in English, ma'am. I translated from my mother tongue to English while I speak English. It's like that when we start learning a language. That's normal. But eventually you'll start to think in English. And if anyone has any more questions, ask them, please. This is the Q&A section, question and answer period. I couldn't speak confidently and my mother tongue comes to mind when I spoke. Please tell me. Practice. Honestly, it's just practice, trying to immerse yourself in English so that your brain will start to think in English more. And this does not necessarily mean going to the United States or Canada. This could mean just listening to podcasts and the radio in English or watching videos, whether it be like Netflix or YouTube in English with native speakers speaking. That will be really helpful. I also have, okay, so you can see common English mistakes. Whoop. Playlist. I have pronunciation help playlist. I have connected speech playlist, which is for people who can speak, but they want to know like the rules when, you're speaking more fluently. And then English learning tips. I have English learning tips to help you know more on how to improve your English. Hello, Jackson from Brazil. It's nice to see you. If you have any questions, please ask because I'm getting to the end of my questions. And it's been an hour live. But I will stay for another, 15, 20 minutes if you guys have questions. So I have no questions now. Feel free to ask if you have questions. So far on this live, for those just coming in, if you want to watch the replay, the first part, I was listening to an Indian speaker share his tips about how he achieved an almost native accent. Then the second part of this live, if you watch the replay, is the same person wanted me to listen to his accent to see what does not sound American. Then third part, I reviewed an accent of a Spanish speaker who's still living, but he has been in Canada for 12 years. So I gave feedback on that. All right. Apparently I can show my comments on the stage. I don't know if it's working or not. I don't think it is. Yeah. All right. So I see thanks. Okay. I'm actually going to correct you, if that's okay, because I know you want to improve. I'm going to get my my whiteboard. All right, there we go. I read that you said, thanks you. Does anyone know what the mistake is? Feel free to say it, to type it. I'm going to show you in 10 seconds if you know the mistake. So you can either say thank you, no S, thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for your help. Or you can say thanks. So thank you or thanks, not thanks you. And I'm actually going to say that sentence in connected speech just so that you can see what it sounds like, because there are some exceptions, pronunciation exceptions that some sounds that change since it's in a sentence. Okay. So technically it's not for your respond, it's your response. But honestly, good job with that. Thank you so much. For a lot of speakers make a mistake here, or English learners. I'm going to get rid of that so that it doesn't block here. So you see the TH, your tongue is between your teeth. Thank you. Thank. I'm going to go word by word, and then I'm going to put it together. If you have any questions while I'm teaching this, write it in the comments. So thank you so much for, or it's like the letter or the number 4, but in connected speech, it turns into fur. Okay. I don't know, my marker is not really working like it should, but I'm hoping you can see it. For your turns into your in connected speech. My marker is broken. Response. So if you want to say this like a native speaker, you'll say, thank you so much for your response. For your response. Thank you so much for your response. Thank you so much for your response. Good. I'm hoping that helps. And if I have no more questions, because I just have 2 comments, sorry, I will end the live. So one day I will make it. I love the American accent. So put the. I love the American accent and your teaching methods too. Thank you. If I get the opportunity, I don't know what your first language is, but maybe there's no like articles like that. If I get the opportunity, then I will talk to you on a live. Yes, I actually am hoping to, in one of my lives, upcoming lives, I might allow speakers to have a Zoom call with me, like beside, and then you guys can watch me have a quick Zoom call. I don't know when it will happen. I don't know either. Maybe in a few weeks. Sorry, ma'am. Oh, that's okay. Don't be sorry. I'm letting you know. I'm showing you your grammar mistakes so you can improve, and that's perfectly normal. So I'm making a lot of grammar mistakes. How to make sentence correctly, that's okay. That's totally fine. All right, so I think that's the end of this live because I do not see any questions. I hope this was helpful. This was a full hour. And if you are an English speaker that wants to improve their accent, feel free to watch this live over. And also watch this video. It'll be popping up here once it's on the replay. So take care, guys, and thank you for coming. Bye. Bye.